Howdy, this is Marissa with Marissa Moments, and you know what day it is. It is Oracle Tuesday, so I'm coming to you with my personally made Marissa Moments Oracle deck with a reading for the collective. So remember, take it as it resonates and leave everything else to the side. So without further ado, let's get to shuffling. And I'm going to speed it up because who has time for that, right? Not you, not me. Let's go. Bruh, that took so long, right? I mean, you won't know it because I fast forwarded times 4. You're welcome. But let's, in usual fashion, I want to list out what we have first. Value and respect your time, shift your focus, shift your world, and don't snap on them. You'll regret it later. You're creating new and unnecessary obligations again. And then in the reverse, we have challenge the damage. And then we got some bottom of the deck energy here with the past gave you lessons. The present gives you opportunity. All right, so let's get straight into it because goodness gracious, that shuffle took a long time. Now here, before we even jump into it, because everything has a meaning, right? If you believe. So the reason it was taking so long, oftentimes I find that the longer the shuffle, either one, it's a sign that you have been procrastinating. So you keep putting things off. So it's taking you longer and then you spaz out in the end. Did you notice how in the middle I paused and I was like, because I felt like it was going so long. I'm like, come on, come on. And so also I feel behind that is you might put a lot of pressure on yourself. And the funny thing behind it, and no, I'm not reading, I'm reading. The funny thing behind that pressure is pressure that you put on yourself because you're creating these situations and circumstances that you end up feeling exacerbated about later. Like Spirit is saying, stop putting stuff off, like get her done. And then, okay, let's get into the actual cards now because it says value and respect your time. It's not even talking about anybody else. This is all about you. But what I hear behind it and the reason why that shuffle took so long and about that procrastination is because that's what you do. And every time you procrastinate, you're not respecting and valuing your own time. You're saying, it's whatever, right? And what Spirit is showing me, because there's a confusion that comes into play, right? Where you're like, well, I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want to feel like I got to hurry up. I want to do things in my time. I want to relax. But what I hear at the same time is like, listen, you think that you're putting things off so that you can be more relaxed in that interim time. But all you're doing is putting yourself behind the 8 ball at towards the end. So now all of a sudden you've got to get everything done, right? And you're just like sweating and you're just tired and you're over it, but you're the one who put yourself in that situation. So anywho, shift your focus, shift your world. What I'm receiving behind this is like, oftentimes it feels like you become defensive at a lot of things where you're like, oh, why they say that? Why they do that? I'm gonna do it in my own time. This is my world. This is all this type of thing. But what I'm receiving behind that is that you don't have to be so defensive. Not everything or everyone is against you. And once you recognize that, and once you get beyond that toxic, what I hear is like mindset or even role play is what I hear. It's almost like you're playing out a role and you don't even believe it necessarily. You don't want to believe it, but because of your circumstances, it's what you feel like you have to do. You feel like you always have to be defensive. But as soon as you shift that thought process, you're going to notice your world shift. You're going to notice that not everyone is against you. It's just that, you know, sometimes you be around crappy people that are judgmental and want to be you, right? So get away from that, get away from them, and then you'll shift your world. And then get talking about being defensive. Don't snap on them. You'll regret it later. What I receive behind that is, again, feeling very defensive all the time, feeling like you have to defend yourself, stand in the gap for yourself, be your own advocate, all of these different things, because that's what you're accustomed to. But what I'm receiving in this instance is that you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to snap on them, because what I'm receiving is not like a regret, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. It's a regret in terms of, I just spent all that energy on something that I don't even want. So that's the reason why you're not supposed to snap on them, not because you're in the wrong or they're in the wrong or any of that type of stuff, because that doesn't matter. But what I'm receiving is that it's all about that energy that you're expelling, because what I'm receiving from all these cards, I'm doing all these hand gestures, but what I'm receiving behind all these cards is that, I'm trying to get a good angle, is that you're just defensive overall. Even the way you live your life, the way that you put things off, the way you procrastinate, saying the same thing, is a defense mechanism, right? So we got to get beyond that. And then it's still in tune and step with everything else, you're creating new and unnecessary obligations again. Because of your defensive way of being and existing, you're putting more on your plate. It's kind of going back into that value and respect your own time, because that procrastination, in that you're creating new and unnecessary obligations. So what should have taken 2 seconds to complete, now it's taking 2 days, right? Because you're putting it off and you're creating the obligations and tasks and all of these different things. What I'm seeing is like somebody who has a very straightforward, focused task ahead of them, right? But then instead of doing that, oh, I get it. Okay. I'm not trying to diagnose you, because that's not what I'm here for. But what I'm receiving is that it kind of like me. So I see you, I feel you, I am you, that you start doing a task and then you get distracted by something else, right? You're like, I need to dust. So you start wiping something down, and then you see a stack of papers and you're like, I need to organize those papers. So you put down the dust rag or whatever it is you're using to clean, and you start going through the papers. And then you go through the papers and you see a bill and you're like, did I pay that bill? So you set down the papers and then you go off and to pay the bill. And you're like, as you're online, you see an ad for something. You're like, I really wanted to get that. I remember I wanted to get that last week. So then you start to purchase this thing that you wanted to get last week. And are you picking up what I'm putting down? And the reason it's easy for me to explain it is because I am you. I get it. But along those lines, what you have to do is make sure that you remain focused. It's almost like you have to tell yourself, this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm doing. So anytime something else tries to surface, you have to redirect yourself and say, no, I'm going to finish this task, because after all that other side adventure stuff, you still got the original task to take care of. And now it's taken 2 days as opposed to 2 seconds. Picking up what I'm putting down. And then let's go into the reverse, challenge the damage. And this is again saying, listen, you don't have to be so defensive. Everyone and everything is not against you. Again, reminder, it's almost saying like, you don't have to worry about challenging the damage, because you challenge everything, right? There's nothing that you cannot find some sort of challenge or argument with. And what Spirit is saying is like, listen, relax. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. You got to pay attention to where you're placing and expending your energy, because it's not worth it at the end of the day. And then we have bottom of the deck. We have the past gave you lessons. The present gives you opportunity. And what I'm receiving behind this is that it almost feels like the, the dot, dot, dot. What is that called? The ellipsis? Whatever. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. There are opportunities that are trying to come your way, but because of that procrastination, because of that defensive mechanism, and because of the way that you're thinking and everything's opposed to you, and what's your angle, Chief? When anytime something positive tries to come across, you're missing out on your blessings. So stop anchoring yourself in the past, basically creating these defensive moments that aren't real. They're only real in your mind. I mean, if reality is based in perception. But once you're able to get beyond that, once you're able to say, self, I don't have to be defensive with everything and everyone, then you'll be able to see those opportunities for what they are and not feel like you're being set up for failure. Picking up what I'm putting down? Because that's it. In summation, let's see what we got. Stop procrastinating. Let's get focused. Don't waste your energy snapping on people. You do not need to be defensive all the time. And stop creating unnecessary obligations by creating these side adventures. Stay focused. And then you'll see all the opportunities that are trying to come your way. So you can snatch them up and have fun. And that's it. Apples and tomatoes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.